Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the ZapSec Modernization Series. My name is Carl Schneider, Vice President at ZapTech, and I'm joined by Anup Tuppad, who is our Senior Network Architect. So, Anup, we've been having a series of these conversations for CIOs about network modernization, and we've talked about why calling a project a refresh, I'm doing air quotes there, when it is actually a transformation, sets every downstream expectation wrong. The budget, the timeline, the operating model, even the board relationship, all of it was determined by that one word.
Exactly, and we have talked about it, and the response we have got was overwhelming. And CIOs kept saying, I have lived that exact scenario, right?
Right. Yeah. In another conversation, we unpacked the hidden cost of running two networks during migration, that the dual run trap, right? 18 months of doubled
Mhm.
licensing, doubled staffing, doubled security service, and like 35% of the total migration cost that never appears in the business case that was made to do the migration.
Yeah, and that's the conversation which kept leading to one question we had not fully answered yet.
And which one is that?
Uh, What happens to the security during all of this, right?
Right, right. And the answer, honestly, is not great. I was reviewing a post-migration security assessment last month. It was a major healthcare organization, 200 sites, like an $18 million network transformation. Beautiful spine and leaf. I asked the
Mhm.
CISO one question, and that was when was the security architecture redesigned for this new network? And then there was this long pause.
I believe it was not redesigned at all, I
No,
guess. Yeah.
no, it was not. The
Yeah.
firewall rules were copied from the legacy environment. Segmentation model was carried over verbatim, and the monitoring still configured for the old, three-tier topology. The east-west traffic on the new spine and leaf, completely invisible. A brand new network running a 10-year-old security posture.
Yeah, and this is not an edge case, Carl. It's the norm, right? When security is a phase four activity, and it is phase four in every project framed as a refresh. Every architectural decision that matters has already been made. Routing design is done, segmentation boundaries are set, and encryption termination points are fixed. Phase four hardening is not security. It's just a decoration.
Right, right. The after the fact decoration. It's a shame. So I know people watching have already read all these items on the screen here, but let's just kind of review real quick. The retrofitting typically costs, as we've seen it, 3 to 5 times more than if you built it in up front. And 78% of breaches are exploiting gaps that were created during transitions. That's crazy. The security
Yeah.
lands, at this phase four, it doesn't really exist in virtually every refresh framed project. It's the same root cause we've been discussing across this series, that the framing determines everything downstream.
Yeah, I agreed on that.
So let's walk through, you know, this phase four security, what happens there. What does it actually look like?
Okay, there are five patterns here, and they compound. Like I said in my previous video, everything compounds. First is the perimeter only thinking, firewalls at the edge, nothing inside. I would say the old three-tier had most traffic flowing north-south through the perimeter. Span and leaf is fundamentally different, and east-west traffic is between workloads is the domain pattern.
Hmm.
If your security model, only watches the perimeter, you are blind to 80% of the traffic on a modern network. Like lateral movement is completely unrestricted right now.
Right. Once you're inside the perimeter, you get everything. So what about the policies themselves?
That would be a second policy, as a copy paste. Legacy ACLs migrated, to the new one with the architecture and hundreds of rules written for three tier applied to span and leaf. Old assumptions on a new topology. It's not great. The gaps are very much invisible because the rules technically exist. They just do not protect what they were designed to protect.
Exactly. That's the
Yeah,
theater part, right? What about segmentation?
yeah. The flat networks persists. There are no microsegmentation post-migration, even though the spine and leaf was designed for it. Nobody implemented it because it was not in phase four scope. One compromised host, reaches everything, right? Zero trust is architecturally impossible without segmentation here.
Right, right. Again, once you're in, you get to everything. So how
Yeah,
about compliance? How's that fit in here?
like fourth would be our bolt-on compliance, control map to an audit checklist, not an actual threat model. This basically creates the most dangerous false confidence around the organization. The organization passes the compliance review, the auditor checks the boxes, and then the breach happens because the controls were designed for the audit, not for the attack. The compliance and security are not the same thing. The organizations need to understand this, that phase four gives you compliance, it does not gives you security.
Right. So any breach would be like this complete surprise. All
Exactly,
right. What about
exactly.
monitoring here?
Yeah, the monitoring is the blind spots, the telemetry designed for the old topology, SNMP, syslog, netflow, all that is configured for three-tier traffic pattern. New east-west traffic flows between leaf and spine switches are invisible. Mean time to detection increases three times, and you have a brand new network and a legacy security telescope pointed at the wrong sky. You basically don't see any stars there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Five patterns and every one of them passes in on it, but everyone also could fail a breach. Okay. So
exactly.
let's talk about security by design.
Mhm.
What changes? So we're talking about the same organization, same budget. What's different when a security is like a layer one input instead of a phase four?
Everything structural, segmentation designed into the architecture before the first switch is configured. Even encryption, termination by design has to happen. Even policy enforcement at every boundary has to happen, not just the perimeter, right? And critically, security decisions are made before routing decisions. That sequencing changes everything.
Right. So what about like zero trust as a general principle?
Okay, so zero trust is an architectural outcome, not a product. Everybody has to understand it. Identity-based access, identity of, instead of network location trust, microsegmentation by architecture, you know, no implied trust between workloads, consistent policy enforcement everywhere. Phase four I would say phase four cannot deliver this because the architecture was not designed for it. Security by design can, because segmentation and policy were built in from the start.
Right, like foundationally part of it. That's good. And how about
Yeah.
assessment? How does that fit into this?
Most organizations do not know what they do not know. A posture assessment audits against actual threat models, not just compliance checks, maps the gaps between old security design and what's the new architectural actually needs. Uh, validates east-west visibility, produces a broad ready risk exposure timeline showing exactly where you are exposed.
Right. And this connects directly to some of our other conversations, right? Because in the
Yeah.
refresh versus transformation discussion, we said security as phase four is a framing problem. But in the dual run discussion, we showed that running two networks doubles your security surface. So this is the third piece. Even after you get to the single network, if security was bolted on instead of built in, you're still exposed.
Yeah, it is the same root cause across all three conversations, right? And how the project was framed on day one determined the budget, the timeline, the dual run cost, and I would even say that the main thing is security posture. The one decision for four consequences here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Anup, just like our data center evolution visual in part one and the compression window in part two, um, this is the whole conversation in one picture here.
Yeah, here in the left side is a phase four outcome, security bolted on after the fact. Look at the details. Basically, the ACL document literally says copy paste on it, and legacy rules on a new topology. And the compliance checklist has green check marks on the front, but crack running through the middle. Right, the passes audits but fails breaches. Right, the
Hmm.
security camera is pointed at the wrong direction because monitoring was designed for the old traffic patterns. The
Hmm.
firewall is a duct taped to the to the top of the network, not woven into it, And the engineers, they are frustrated because they know this is a theater, but a phase 4 did not give them the scope to do it properly.
Yeah, yeah. Like you say, it's theater. It's smoke and mirrors, basically. So now let's talk about the right side.
Yeah, on the right side is the layer one outcome. Security by design is provides you micro-segmentation boundaries and around every workload group, and encryption locks are built into every connections, not hanging loosely off a cable. A central policy engine connected to every segment. Zero trust verification checkpoints at every boundary. That's what we are talking about. And look at the bottom, the full east-west traffic
Hmm.
visibility, and the monitoring sees everything because it was designed for the new architecture, not inherited from the old one. And the engineers like me are confident because the security posture is structural, not cosmetic, and it stops breaches built in, like not bolted on. Same network, same budget.
Right. Hey, but different architectural decision from the beginning. And that's the through line through this series that we've been doing here.
Yeah, so in part one, how you frame the project determines, every outcome. In part
Hmm.
two, how you plan the migration determines the cost. On part three, how you design the security determines whether you are actually protected or you're just performing a protection.
Right. Performing
Yeah.
protection in theater. So like the
Yeah.
same organization, same infrastructure, and even the same investment.
Yeah. The only variables are framing, planning, and design.
Right. And get those three right, and you get actual transformation with compressed timelines and real security.
Yeah, yeah. And if you get any of them wrong and you get a refresh, dual run exposure and a security theta.
Right. So here's the next step. Audit your post-migration security architecture with ZapSec's security by design assessment and find the gaps before an attacker does.
Yeah, and if you've not started your migration yet, build security in from layer one. It costs 3 to 5 times less than bolting it on a phase 4, right? And it is the only way to actually be secure, not just compliant.
Exactly. You nailed it, Anup. Stop bolting on security when you can build it in from the beginning.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, ZapSec helps companies modernize their infrastructure and maximize their ROI every day. We've been there, we've done that. So if any of this resonates with you, we'd welcome a conversation on how to bring this sort of transformation to your organization. Just visit zapsec.com or reach out to Anup or myself directly. Our email addresses are visible at the beginning of the video.